Uh-oh, there you go. Now you're thinking with gas. Yeah, found what you wanted. Eskimo pie wrapper. You can lick the tar out of that. Chase it all over. Okay, I'm going to take the air cleaner out because the oil sample showed high silica in the oil, and there's a cool fix right there. So this is going to be interesting to see what we find in here. Got broken bolt there, but that wouldn't cause the issue unless let's see. Yeah, so the air cleaner has no bolts in it, which would cause it to flop around and wear the O-rings out in the pipes. So probably going to be tearing all that off. If I don't find the problem in here, we're going to have to go deeper. We're going to have to go surgery. So let's see what we got. Oh. All right. Baldwin. Well, we're full of bees. Well, it don't look real dirty. Okay, so it says, wow, that's been in there a long time. 03. Yeah, you don't, paper air filters need to go bye-bye once a year. You don't want to leave them in that long. So, I'll have to unbolt all those 3/8 nuts to get the safety out, and then we can look inside the pipe to see if she's got dirt in it. This one's it got a date on it? I can't tell. No date. So I don't see anything really wrong with it looking at it, but that don't mean anything. That didn't look good there. I don't know if it's pooched in the inside, if it's got a hole through it or what. Usually if you're leaking through this one, you'll see the dirt on here, and I don't see any. So let's get that out of there. See what we got going on. Okay, the first thing I noticed is the nuts in there are not tight. They're not tight at all, and they have no lock washers. You got to use lock washers on those. And every time you change the primary, you put a number, just make a mark on here with a Sharpie. And at your third primary filter change, you change the secondary. Because what happens is you pull those dirty things out of there. These are not meant to take a lot of dirt, and they plug up quite easily. There's not a lot of surface area there to breathe all that air in. And so you get a little dirt on that, it plugs it up. So every time you do your primary, mark it, and then every third primary change, this should get changed. Okay, the safety doesn't look bad, and the painted surface where it seals is fairly good, except down here she's starting to rust. But I ran my hand in there, and it's dusty and black. So the inside of this housing is super rusty. It's just nasty. So I'll have to take the whole canister off, sandblast it, and repaint it. And then there's a gasket between this and the elbow. I have to undo all these bolts. Where are they? There's one sticking through. The rest of them, I think, are threaded. That's got to come out and change the gasket on that, and then we'll have to start inspecting the O-rings and the elbows and stuff, but that's nasty. So, and then like I said, the bolts are missing out of here. There's should be a long one under here. There's nothing holding this down, so it's flopping around on there. That's not good. And this has been broke off. There's no bolt through that. Looks like the threads are destroyed, so fix that. Probably should just take the hood off at this point. Get that nice muffler off of there and get the hood off. So that thing right there tried to cut my arm off. I took the last bolt out and it fell down. And the only thing that kept cutting my arm off was I had that door open and it caught on the tracks. Okay, now I have got to undo these bolts at the back, take the screen bonnet off, the air filter, and then figure out how to pick up this hood. Okay, so one of the things I noticed is the air filter over there has a plug where your restriction gauge would go. So maybe they just plugged the air filters up completely and collapsed them and sucked some dirt. How many years would you say this tractor had to sit to rust grousers like that? I mean, that's bad. So if those filters say 2003, there's zero dirt in them, just a light dust. So I'm gonna guess this sucker's been sitting, oh my gosh, 17 years or more, 18. Wow. So see that little black hole right there? That's where the filter minder would go, and you have to screw an adapter in there, and it has like a really super fine, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it's a screen so that if your filter minder ever goes to pot, the dirt will go up in there and plug that screen. And as you can see, this one has black streaking around the hole, and they've got a plug on the other side of that hole. They just got it plugged off. So I think it was sucking crap through that too. But this surface is horrible rusty, and I'll probably screw all the studs out and clean it up. Fix the canister, and then put a new gasket on it, put that back together, and then put these missing bolts in the mount. So my awesome GoPro's having serious problems. So I'll turn it on and it's recording, and then sometimes it'll turn it off and say SD card error. But yet I can go in on the computer and download all the videos off the card. They're there. And now when I record and then I push it to stop, it doesn't clear the screen to start over again, and it won't shut off, so you got to pull the battery out. So I don't know, I'm not sure that it's actually a card error. It may be something wrong with the camera. So maybe I'll get another card, and if it still does it, then they can have the camera back and send me another one. Or maybe it'll have an accident. Okay, since my GoPro ain't working, I'm gonna do this one-handed with my phone. This is a Caterpillar filter tool, and I've never not had it take a filter off. They're awesome. It's good stuff, man. One thing Cat builds, it's good stuff. Some of their tool inventions. Sweet. Okay. Let's go get us another. Let's go get a Cat filter. Get rid of this red stuff on here. This ain't no International. So I've corrected that condition. So I only had one of the 749s, which is the long one, but I had two 750s left, so I put those on. But on the 9, I like the 749s because they're huge. They have so much more capacity. They'll last a lot longer. So I got the Baldwins out, and this old girl has amber fuel in it. It doesn't have red. I don't know if you can see down in there, but she's got some junk. So anyway, the fuel doesn't seem to look or smell bad, so maybe I got lucky there. Maybe they were actually running this thing. Of course, they were running it with a 2003 safety in it. I don't know what the date is on the primary, but you definitely don't want to run any paper air filter usually longer than a year. Just after changing the primary 3 times, change the secondary. If neither one of them been changed, it's been sitting for a year, or just they haven't been changed for a year, take them out, throw them away. It's cheap insurance. So I go get a 15/16 and undo the water separator, go turn the fuel off in the tank, see what we got in the separator. Okay, there's no screen in it, but the tank is not rusty. That is a really good sign. But the cap doesn't look like it really has any of the screen media in it. So probably should, you know, you can't even get a cap like this from Cat anymore. It's cheaper to just buy it off eBay, some Chinese made thing. That's just unbelievable to me that Cat won't even make the old fuel caps. I don't know, maybe they figure since there's so many knockoffs and they can't compete, they just quit. The other thing I could do is, they make an adapter deal you screw on there, and it's got the newer style flip up lid. A guy can put one of those on, then you can padlock it. Okay, so it's been doing its job. I don't know if you can see that, but she's full of goop in the bottom. Spring didn't come out. I don't know what that is. Anyway, I got tons of these in there. This is rusty. It looks like it's had water. I don't know if that's what's growing in there, but we'll throw that away. Throw that away, clean the guts out of it, and put her back on. If you leave water in them too long, sometimes it'll start rusting out that bottom right there. and then they'll leak. This don't look too bad. I'm gonna get diesel all over my phone. So that's what came out of the canister. You know how they, on the fuel cap, it says buy clean fuel and keep it clean? That's why that screen's important in the tank, and then, you know, not refueling in a dust storm, dirt all over the nozzle. So I got this one cleaned out. This is a newer style one. It's got the black coating in it, but they've left water and junk in the bottom so long it started peeling up the coating. And the coating is there to keep them from rusting out on the bottom, but apparently it's not oblivious to water. That's just a lot of junk, isn't it? Junk. Dirt. All kinds of cool stuff. That's why it's important to have that filter media in the cap too, and clean it occasionally, replace it if necessary. So the oil filter nipple screwed out with the filter, so I've cleaned the threads up really good and applied just a little bit of breakaway strength Loctite, tightened by hand. So I didn't have any more cap filters, so I got the next best thing. A leak guard. I can't do this on the phone. Should I go get a can of yellow paint and go after that? Oh, you know, I just noticed it just clouded up. Wonder if we're gonna get rained on. Balls. Boring. So maybe that's where the high silica is coming from. Dirt goes right in there and down the hole. Either gotta fix it or get me a new dipstick. So I took the dipstick in and the one side was broke, and I just took a MAP gas torch and I fixed this hole right here and then got the loop stuck back on, so it should seal tight. I can't imagine that that hole in it would have allowed that much dirt into the engine to show a high silica content, because there's usually pressure against that when it's running. It stuff shouldn't really be able to go in, but I'm sure it does. So we've eliminated that one. Okay, so that inside was super rusty, so I went and got some hydrochloric acid, aka muriatic acid, sprayed it down good, ate all that off, and now I'm gonna sandblast the outside so I can paint the whole thing. Okay, we got it sandblasted up, cleaned up everywhere, got the lid cleaned up, and I'm just gonna paint it with some primer and then give her a good bath of cat yeller. This is fun. I gotta shake this forever. Okay, there we are, battleship gray. That's what color I'm gonna paint that whole tractor. Battleship gray. And I'm gonna put PT 109 on the side. If you don't prime this after you blast it, you paint it with that cat yellow, it'll just rust right through. You can always tell a auction machine where they blast it and paint it. Doesn't take very long, and then rust just eats right through the paint without a primer. So this will look good, and it ain't gonna suck dirt. Okay, they turned out really nice, much better than before. That inside was just pure rust. That was a bear to get all that off, cleaned up. But the most important thing is I got it cleaned up there. I've got a adapter coming, be here Wednesday, today's Monday, to change this over to a radial seal air filter. For those of you who have never seen that, including the parts man at Western States. Never too old to learn something new, huh? Anyway, radial seal is the way to go. The safety does not bolt in there. There's an adapter that bolts in there, and then the safety slips on. You put the cover on, squeezes everything together. So a lot of people used to say, oh, Jeff, your 37s, you don't have the cover, or your 9 doesn't have the cover. Well, that's because it doesn't have one like this. It has The air cleaner has a hole through it, covers this whole hole, and a big stud sticking out of here, and that holds the filter in. This is a newer style. This cover goes on, pinches the filter down in, and seals it. But anyway, that's pretty good looking, if I don't say so myself. Jeff, Ace Bonino with a rattle can. Okay, I've decided to take this whole pipe off, and I need to get all these studs out, clean that gasket surface. So you can see she's a wee bit dirty in there, and I wanted to double check the O-rings because this lip on this housing is so messed up. They could have taken chunks or cut the O-rings. We'll have a better look at them here. That doesn't look good there. But anyway, we'll clean all this up. I don't know if I'll take that one apart or not. These are a bear. Okay, I debated whether or not to take this piece of pipe out of that, but I'm glad I did because it's got some damage in here. You can see where it's been working. And it's probably because it's not the pipes aren't oriented right. They're on a bind and it's eaten into the housing here. Anyway, when I took this out, I had water trapped in between the O-rings somehow, so it could have been leaking there, but I'm getting her cleaned up, and I haven't really looked these over good yet, but you know, you get a lot of rust and junk in there like that. It's not a good sign, especially if you run the air filter all the way till she's plugged up. She's going to pull air from places you never thought it could. I've seen them collapse the filters and pull it right around the seals. It's amazing the amount of suction power they have. So do it right. Don't want to do it again. So this is probably where it was leaking, and then you can see the streak going down inside. Dirt just a going in there, right through here. So yeah. Okay, so that's the filter that goes in here where your filter minder goes, and so as much dirt's on the end of that, I'm gonna say that the filter minder went to hell and started running dirt through there. Now you can see a little on the end of it there, but this is designed to save your engine. So this is a deal that goes inside these older machines. It's made to go inside and then screw your fitting in, but you can also buy the brass fitting with this in it if you're not set up for this to go in the hole. Anyway, this will save you your engine, because those stupid plastic filter minders they make now, you better throw them away about once a year, every 2 years. They just go to hell because they're plastic, made in China crap. But this will save you right here. So I've cleaned this up. That's what it looks like. But if your air filter indicator is not working, doesn't ever seem to show anything, you might want to check this. And like I say, your brass adapter fitting should have one of these in. If it doesn't, get rid of it and go find one that does, because you'll dirt your motor out, guaranteed, over a 2-bit plastic filter minder. Okay, so somebody'd taken a hammer, and you can see all kinds of places they were prying on this, trying to get that pipe out, and they damaged it. So I cleaned a lot of that up, but I noticed Got a really sharp piece of aluminum there, so I got to be careful not to accidentally get that elbow down around there. So I've greased it up and ready to put it on. Assemble this one, then we'll go get the other one and see if I can get it on there. So they should go in fairly easy. Again, I said fairly easy. That means go. That's your cue to go on easy. God, man, come on, dude. There's one. Wants to spit it back out. Boy. There we go. So it's greased up good so that when I go to get all this together, you don't want one like that. And again, you know, on an angle pinching the O-rings, you want them to fit nice. So let's go get the other one. Okay, this O-ring system works really well unless you fail to use copious amounts of lubrication. You'll cut the O-ring, you'll roll them, and have all kinds of problems. Plus, you get lots of grease in there. Next time you go to take it apart, it will actually come apart. Especially since there's no heat on this side. The heat's in this one. I should probably really take those apart and clean them up and change them. But since this is just the intake, we should be fine. Then when you put them in, try not to roll them. Try to get them in the groove without rolling. Make sure that they're not twisty. Oops. Usually since there's a part number on them, you can tell whether they're rolled or not. And if you have a lot of grease on them, usually they'll roll right back. They don't fit that tight. It's when you put them under compression that they really squeeze down. Some guys probably use grease. I've used Murphy's before, but Murphy's dries out and goes hard. And eventually the grease will too, but it takes a long time inside there where it's airtight. So, look, Ma, I'm a mess. I'm gonna go get the other piece and get it in there if we can, without pushing this end out. Whew. That bracket really needs to be gone to do this. I'm hoping I can. It was a bear to get this out one piece. Hope I can do it. Get it rotated around there where it needs to go. There we go. All right. All right. Okay, now, gotta go down in here and line up with the holes. So, let's see, when we do that, we gotta make sure all this is gonna line up still. Don't forget the antices. Okay, where are you, Mr. Hole? You way up there, way up there. There we go. Come on, dude. Where are you? Come on, man. There. There.
One. Okay, now that one. I think that's still gotta turn a wee bit.
Okay, so the bolts, the 2 bolts were gone out of these mounts right here. They come up through the intake. And so what it's doing is it's flopping around, and it allows that O-ring and that pipe up there to move, and then it damages the O-ring, damages the pipe, and that's what causes your air leak. So all this stuff's got to be secured tight. And so it looks like it ain't had bolts in here for 20 years, so we'll fix that. Where's my stuff? And get some bolts in it, get it tightened down good. Get it secured. This is the adapter ring for the radial seal. Your safety plugs on the inside of this and your primary on the outside. So canister's got to go on, and then this has got to go on. So do I silicone that? Yeah, I don't know. Don't really want to, but so you got a hole here, and there's a little 3/8 12-point headed bolt that goes in here, and your safety would go over that head, but on the adapter the holes are not made for that. So you can either just put 2 more studs in, or just put the bolts in and tighten her down. So I just got to line the holes up now and get it on. Without scratching my pretty paint job. And getting the holes lined up. Goes like this. Right like that. I think. Nope. Dingbat. Just got to line up for that elbow. Does not go like that. It goes down. Correct? Yes. Yes. Pretty sure. Is that lining up for that hole? That one goes there. That one goes there. Yeah, like that. Bingo. Okay, that's what it looks like inside. So when you go plug the safety in, it goes in here. You put some grease around it, and you put the primary, and it seals over this, and then the cover holds them in there. Okay, this is a radial seal air filter, and inside here is the adapter bolted in, and then you put a little grease on the end of the filter thing and just shove it in there, and there it is. See that? Do not clean. Okay, that's the primary filter, and it's going to push up over the outside of that adapter. So here's what we do. Just put a little bit of grease on that. Makes it slide, catch any dust. If you happen to run these till they collapse, which that's what a filter minder's for. If I can do this. Everything goes better with lube on it. Gotta have lube. There we go. And the other thing I did on the other end is I wrote the date on it, 9/23, so I know how old it is and how many hours are going to end up. Look at that fancy filter. Cat? What do they do? Laser burn that in there? That's pretty cool. Okay, the thing that's different about these filters than the other kind, besides the fact that they seal right there, is when you put the cover on, you don't have to crank them down super hard, because they don't rely on being able to seal here where my paper towel is. That's not where they seal. They seal internally around that ring inside. So let's see if I can put this one in without turning the phone off. So all you got to do is get her started in there. Shove it in. Oh, come on, Jeff. This is really hard with holding the phone. Come on, man. Okay, there was some plastic deals that they made me put in there. I'm not sure those are gonna let me go. Oh, there we go. Just gotta lift it up, Jeff. There, look at that. Okay, we're in. It's sealed and it doesn't fall out. So when you put the cover on, it just has to hold it in there. It doesn't have to pinch it, so you don't want to over torque it. Okay, these are the air cleaner bolts that tighten it up. And these stainless nuts fit inside the housing. There's a bracket there. And they were all bent to crap. This one had a ton of washers on it because obviously it's not the correct one. So they were washing it up. Or they were washing it up to keep you from pulling. Actually, these were on this side here. So guys were tightening it up too tight. And there's no need to crank those things down until they're bent like that, especially with a radial seal filter. You just don't have to do that anymore. Okay, there we go. Cover is on. You just finger tight those. You don't get out the pliers, especially with a radial seal. They just need to be snug. They don't need to be torqued down to 100 foot-pounds. So this is the later style air filter with the cover. A lot of guys always ask me where the cover is on my scrapers. Well, let's go look. Okay, this is the air cleaner on the Filthy Whore. Same one as on the rest of the scrapers and on the D9G. So you get a lot of metal here. And then the safety in there has a cage that goes over it. Comes clear out here with a stud on it. And that one you got to crank down snug. That air filter housing, there's a lot of iron in it. It's not like that H one. That H one is like beer can. You can bend it really easy. Anyway, they changed over to that style on the cats when they came out with the H, and on the scrapers when they came out with the D series. The old 88 has twin filters on it, and they are identical to the rear engine on a 37. They use a cover style like on the 9. So they had those air cleaners clear back early 70s, 70, somewhere around there. But they didn't update the front engine on the scraper or the D9 until they came out with the H and then the D on the scrapers. So no, I'm not missing a cover on my scrapers. There is no cover. The filter is the cover. Okay, I got oil in it and everything hooked up. Oh, wait a minute. I got to put a plug in that hole. I put that little screen thing in the elbow, but I got to put a plug in there. I don't have a minder. Okay, temporary, we're going to put this one in. It's also got a screen deal in it. Mr. Griffey's gonna start barking, huh? You gonna start barking? Probably not going to fire off on account of change the fuel filters. It's probably full of air. I have a hard time getting it to go. Okay, she fired up. First thing right off the bat, I was absolutely amazed. But with the ripper in the air, this head's leaking into the head seal. So I don't know what's going on there. Bad head seal, they cut it, or the bore's too big. Might have to put a oversized head seal in it. It's a couple gallons, probably 3 gallons low of oil in the tranny. Fill it with engine oil. It needs about another gallon in it. The coolant looks awful. So that's got to go and get flushed good. So what I was doing was pull both steering clutches out, put it in gear. You watch the drive shaft U-joint there. And when the clutch is released, it should start to spin. It's a little slow on the transmission engaging. The oil's good and clean. It's a little low, but it's good and clean. So the next step is to drop those belly pans. Probably pull the sump screens out and clean them. Maybe drain the tranny oil. Clean the sump screens, suction screens. There's one on each side of the front of the tranny down there. If you can see it. And it's got rubber hose and just clamps. And if it's got an air leak, you're sucking air, that could cause some of the problem. But I still am going to tip the cab back and clean the deck off under there, see if I can figure out where the fuel's leaking and fix that. And then take the adjuster plates off the steering clutch covers and have a look-see in there, see how they're adjusted. And then on one of these H's, you got to have the linkage adjusted correctly or they don't steer very good. So there's your transmission oil fill, there's your dipstick, here's your disconnect. So before I tip the cab back, I'm sure I'll have to take that off, and I'll have to loosen those bolts. Well, no, that's hooked to the fuel tank. That'll be all right there. So I don't know how old these batteries are, but I tell you what, they crank it over. Can't find a date on them. They're called Overroad. Never heard of them. 1300 amp crank amp. Usually my cat dealer scribes a date, purchase date in them, because you can't. This one doesn't even have a deal to scratch off for the date. So I don't know how old they are. They look good. They've got acid in them. They're full. So anyway, that's the next step is tip the cab back. Well, get the belly pans off and then we'll tip the cab back. This one's got to come off and get resealed. And then the dozer rams up front have got to come clear off and get overhauled. Probably new rods on the dozer. And then the ripper ones, I don't know. It's got a rusty spot on that one over there, but until it starts leaking, maybe I won't worry about it. And then I got to do the tilt ram. The tilt ram it's weather checked and it's toast. It's pretty bad. It's all cracked up. And it ain't real good on the chrome either. But one on my G is even worse. That'll probably go a while. But that is probably not salvageable. What do you think? Oh, I got a case of cat oil filters too. I have to change that. Anyway, I'm moving along, working on it when I can. I drove truck the other day for the boys on the subdivision. Matt's gone hunting this today and rest of the weekend. He won't be back till Sunday. There's very few bolts holding the tranny belly pan on. There's a bunch of missing ones in the front ones, so I'm just going to drop them both out, clean them out, get new bolts, nuts, and like I say, probably change the suction hose and check the screens and stuff on it. So anyway, I'm getting there a little at a time. We'll get some more things fixed, and then I'll just take it out here in the yard and start trying to dig a hole. See what else we find.